will speak from the audience. Maybe you pick it up.
Well, good evening. It is 6:05. If this had been a fiscal court meeting, we would be late getting started. So good thing we're in a public information session. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. This is a public information session, which means we are not here to choose sides tonight. We are here to provide the public with information to help you all then give us feedback on maybe how you would like the fiscal court to vote once it comes to a vote. So I have asked Hannah Gray, who is the Planning and Zoning Director, to come tonight to answer questions. We have got pre-planned questions to ask her that we think will cover a lot of the questions that you may have in your mind as to what this text amendment means, what it does going forward, just anything that is involved with the planning of this text amendment. So save your questions until the end, and if there is time, we have note cards that we can pass out. If you have a question that has not been answered, we want to make sure that all your questions are answered tonight, if possible. So at the end, we will pass out the cards, and you all can write your question down, and we'll give it to Hannah, and she will answer it, because she's good like that. So once again, welcome, and thank you all for coming out tonight. I want to mention some of the magistrates that are here. I think we have all but one. Tom Ellis on the front row, District 1. Paula Bodner, front row, District 2. Jason Cullen is online, so he is phoning in. He's in the listening part of it. Jamie Gay, I saw him walk in, District 5. And Steve Sleeper, District 6. And then we also have a couple of city commissioners here, Kevin Cottle and Donna Pete. So thank you all for coming out tonight. We appreciate it. So let's get started. Like I said, it's an information session. So we're just going to have like a little fireside chat up here with Hannah. We're going to ask questions and she's going to answer. And we'll see where we go from there. How about that? Okay. First question is, explain the difference between the comprehensive plan and the zoning ordinance text amendment. What is the difference?
Yes, there is a big difference. I'm sorry, I just speak very lightly. Okay. So yes, there is a big difference. One, the comprehensive plan, the Danville-Boyle County comprehensive plan was adopted on October 22nd by the Planning and Zoning Commission. So this was a long process. I'm sure you all have heard about it for years at this point. So this got started in 2023, in the fall of 2023, when the previous director, Michaela Gary, was here. So we went through years of different meetings. There was 3 held in Danville, 2 meetings held in Junction City, 2 in Maryville, 1 in Parksville, and 1 in Forkland, all to discuss the future land use map and to discuss what we wanted to see, what you all wanted to see in the comprehensive plan. That was adopted on October 22nd of the last P&Z Commission meeting. The zoning ordinance text amendment was also adopted or approved at that same meeting. The zoning ordinance text amendment is an amendment to one of the sections of the zoning ordinance. It is very separate from the comprehensive plan. And although it is 2 separate things, so they do not go hand in hand at all.
Okay, so you mentioned there are 2 just different documents. So let's start with the comprehensive plan then. How did that come about? What has happened with it? Has it been adopted by the Planning and Zoning Commission? And just talk to us about the comprehensive plan.
So the comprehensive plan, I believe that started even when Steve was here. So it's been an ongoing thing. The previous comprehensive plan was adopted in 2017. And per Kentucky state regulations, each county has to have a comprehensive plan every 5 years. So it's been more than 5 years since 2017. So we really, really needed one. Michaela Gary spent 2 years discussing this with the different cities and different bodies, bringing together the flume and most of the comprehensive plan. There was a comprehensive plan committee, which had 4 commissioners of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Josh from the city of Danville, and I believe just Michaela, to discuss kind of different levels of the comprehensive plan and different things we wanted to put together for that plan. So that was 3 years in the making, and then it got adopted on October 22nd after a month of public comment while I was here. So we put it on the agenda in August, and then we gave 3 weeks for public comment. We took all of those public comments into consideration and incorporated most of the topics that were discussed. So it was a long process, honestly, the comprehensive plan, but it is adopted finally, and so it is now officially in play.
Okay, so the comprehensive plan has went through all the processes that it needed to go through. You had your public hearings, you had your public comments, and then it goes back to the planning commission and they adopt the comp plan.
The comprehensive plan and the future land use map. So both of those things are now what is the most updated comprehensive plan in Flint. And both of those are available on our website as well.
Okay, so now the commission has recommended for approval a zoning ordinance text amendment.
Yes.
Okay, what does that mean? What does text amendment mean?
So we have a joint zoning ordinance with Danville, Perryville, Junction City, and Boyle County. So you all follow the same planning and zoning ordinances. And so the zoning ordinance text amendment is an amendment to that joint ordinance, which means that planning and zoning has to adopt it. Boyle County, Danville, Perryville, and Junction all have to adopt it because it's a joint ordinance. So we want all of your all's opinions and, you know, ideas and everything like that. But the comp plan is adopted by the Planning and Zoning Commission. So it's got a different process because the Planning and Zoning is the governing body over that document. So it's two different processes.
Okay, tell us what the current ordinance is for agriculture and subdividing.
Currently, it is at 50,000 square feet, which is a little over 1 acre, with 100 feet lot width, 40 feet lot frontage, very similar to what single family is right now. But previously, in the 2004 ordinance, it was for land used agriculturally, the minimum lot size was 5 acres. And then in the 1988 ordinance, it was the same exact verbatim for land used agriculturally, minimum was 5 acres. And they also have for single family dwellings, minimum of 1 acre, which is similar to the rural residential designation that is in our current joint zoning ordinance.
Okay, so the text amendment then is to change the 1 acre subdivision,
Yes, the 1 acre minimum lot size.
minimum lot size to 5 acres.
Yes,
Okay.
in agricultural zone
Agricultural zone only.
only, yeah.
Agricultural zone only.
So we still do have that rural residential and R1A, single family, R1B and C to allow for smaller lot sizes, but in increasing the minimum lot size, the goal is to make sure that there's adequate utilities and infrastructure and make sure that there's a second step in the process to ensure that we can make sure of that.
Okay, can you elaborate a little more on why there is a change? Why do we want to change from 1 acre to 5 acres?
Well, I mean, I have seen just by driving and just in my time here, the lack of utilities and infrastructure, adequate infrastructure, in the county is concerning, I think. So I think this was brought to me by city and county officials both saying that we want to densify the urban service areas that we have, Perryville, Junction, and Danville. So in doing that, and that it goes along with the goals and objectives of the comp plan, is that we want to densify the city limits and keep agricultural as minimum density as possible. And I think this does that.
So even though there is agricultural zone property in the city limits, this would mostly apply to county property.
Yes, yes. For these properties that are using for agricultural uses.
Okay. All right, so we've discussed what the change is. It's a change from 1 acre to 5 acres on agricultural zone only. And we discussed why there is a change. Okay, based upon information feedback that you've received back in these public meetings. So the main question is, what would be the process for a 1 acre lot subdivide? So somebody owned 10 or more acres.
If this got passed.
Yeah, if it were passed. Yeah, if it were passed.
So then if you still want to subdivide 1 acre lot, you would just come to the planning and zoning with not only with a subdivision and the zone change. So it would just be a zone change into either rural residential or R1A if you wanted a smaller than 1 acre lot. And it would still kind of be, you still have to get a survey, you still have to do an application. It would be almost the same exact process except for zone change and not subdivision.
Okay, so if I had 10 acres and I want to subdivide an acre to one of my children, I would come to planning and zoning with a minor plat, showing that 1 acre subdivided. I would pay whatever fees are associated with
The zone change.
for the zone change, okay? And then the zone would change from agricultural to rural residential. Okay. Can you go less than an acre?
Well, rural residential is actually 40,000 square feet, so I think it's 0.91 acres. But you can, there is R1A, single family, and I think R1A is actually 50,000 square feet, and then R1B and C are smaller lots than that.
Okay, so just to make sure that we've covered it correctly, and we've said everything correctly. If this changes, let's just say this changes and it goes to the 5 acres, like it's been off and on, back and forth since 1988, 76, okay. It's been 5 acres, it's been an acre, it's been 5 acres, it's swapped back and forth.
Well, I think it's actually been 5 acres up until the 2018. So I think it was 5 acres all the way back when.
From
Yeah,
1976.
I can tell in our county.
Okay. We got a lot of head shakes from footing back. Okay, but in 76, in 2004, in 2018 was all,
This was in 2018, and this was the first time that I saw in our ordinances that I have in my office
okay,
that, I mean, of course, there's amendments,
yeah,
but so in 2018 was the first time that I could find 1 acre being the minimum for
Yeah.
agricultural zones.
okay. Okay. But you can, if you have acreage and you want to subdivide it, you can, but the zone change has to be made. And you have to pay whatever fees are associated with the zone change,
Yes, yeah.
if it were to pass.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And I do want to point out too, like a lot of, like we have had plats in Parksville, like Parksville has refused to sign on a plat, so it's in there at capacity, I think right now. I think there's been something at Parksville where they're at capacity, so it's like that where we just want to have the ability to ensure that there's adequate infrastructure and adequate utilities already for the existing residents and not put extra burden on the people that are already there.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that what the Planning and Zoning Commission has looked at and decided is that it's more of a in the future kind of thing, that you have to make sure that you have the right utilities, the right, the road has to be able to handle the traffic if you're gonna put more houses on the roads. So you have to have the infrastructure covered in order to be able to do it. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, yeah. I think that's the biggest thing that I've seen as well is just the narrow roads out in the county that, keep adding density and adding density and adding density and adding traffic. That is kind of the biggest concern that we're seeing is just at what point is it going to get wider if there is more and more houses? And does that put planning and zoning at, in a position where we put ourselves, in a position of almost liability of just like, at what point is it too much? And so I think we're just trying to plan for the future.
Okay. What's the next step now?
So it's gonna come.
Wait, before we answer that one, let me ask this one. So what if this amendment does not pass in the fiscal court or the city or junction or parable? What happens then?
Well, then it comes back to planning and zoning and we see if we want to amend that or go forward with, a next step. But it would come back to the Planning and Zoning Commission after being sent to the Boyle County, Danville, and Junction and Perryville.
Do all entities have to vote the same?
No, there can be different amendments. Yes, so I talked to our legal counsel and it was told to me that each governing body can have different amendments. So if Boyle County wanted to go 5.125 acres and then Danville wanted to go 6 acres or whatever, there can be different sections per governing bodies. So that is definitely something to take into consideration as well.
So would there be a chance that Boyle County voted it down, but maybe Junction passed it?
Mhm.
And I'm just being hypothetical.
Yes, that's possible. Yes, and that's yeah.
So then it would only apply to Junction City.
If they passed it and nobody else did.
All right.
But each different governing bodies can have different amendments. So if you wanted it to be 6 and Junction wanted it to be 3, that can happen.
Okay. So what is the next step in the text amendment process?
So next it's going to go to Boyle County Fiscal Court on the 25th of this month. And I wanted to wait until it was heard at Boyle County Fiscal Court before I sent my recommendations on to Junction, Danville, and Perryville. But that would be the next step as well, is to get on the 3 cities' agendas and just basically ask for approval or recommendation, send them a letter of recommendation for approval, and that'll be the next step, is the 25th meeting at the fiscal court.
Okay, all right. Have all the questions been answered? We're through our questions, so if you have an additional question that Hannah has not answered, if you'll hold your hand up, Julie will come around with paper and pencil. And if you understand everything and you don't have a question, that's fine.
Judge, I have a statement. Tom Ellis, First District Magistrate. I have 65% of the county in my district. That is because we are not heavily a dense population. And there's a real irony to the vote that you've just heard about that's easy to miss if you're not understanding it. For example, the city of Danville can vote for it. And that not only affects Danville, but Danville is, as my colleague on fiscal court will always say, Jamie Gay, the county. The city is in the county. So the city of Danville theoretically can control agricultural area where what? 10% of the city of Danville's perimeter might be agriculture at most. And yet the vote out of Danville can affect us, where I have 65% of the county, and we have 2 or 3 others. My colleague to my right here, Paula Bodner, has a significant portion of the county.
You want to add to that, Hannah?
I don't think that's that's not what I meant about that. So Danville can have their own amendments, but I don't think it necessarily affects the county.
But their influence can affect all the county land as well.
It depends on the limits.
The city.
Under KRS 100, it depends on the limits of the city, of each city. Those are established. And then the county limits are the remainder. So each governing body controls within that jurisdiction.
And yet we have magistrates who have a significant, if not almost complete, and one does, complete component of the city.
The Boyle County is a little different because
Mark, will you come
all
take the mic,
cities,
please?
no, that's all cities are within Boyle County. The cities have jurisdiction within their city limits. The county includes all of those cities, and they have magistrates. So the Boyle County Fiscal Court has more influence than any other governing body because they have influence over all of those cities.
With
But
magistrates who influence that vote but have the city.
Any ordinance that a city passes is only governing within the limits of that city.
Okay, we have a question.
Yes.
All right. Okay, you said it comes back to planning and zoning after the cities or after the county. That's correct. It comes back to planning and zoning after the cities.
So I'm sorry, that was only if it was denied on the county and city level. So it only would come back to P and Z if it failed at Boyle County, Danville, Junction, and Perryville. Then it would come back to P and Z to be discussed. Do we do another amendment? Do we want to do something else? So I do want to talk about kind of like how this zoning ordinance text amendment came about. So I got here back in June. Oh my gosh, it's been so long. So I got here back in June, and my first 3 months was just talking about the comp plan. So I'm still in comp plan mode. But a lot of that comp plan discussion and getting out into the community, I started coffee with a planner. Thank you to one of the constituents here, recommendation. But so I wanted to get out in the community and hear what y'all's thoughts were about the comp plan and about that process. And in kind of discussions with constituents and discussions with officials from the county and officials with the city, it was suggested that an increase to the minimum lot size in ag was needed to, do exactly what I'm saying now, and do exactly what the comp plan's goals and objectives were, to densify the city limits and to protect agricultural land for agricultural uses. And so in those discussions about the comp plan, we have an advisory committee in the Planning and Zoning Commission. And we had an advisory committee to discuss, increasing this. And so we've, had those discussions behind the scenes, and then it got brought to the October meeting. But it got brought to the October meeting because we've had so many discussions about the comp plan and so many discussions just with the community about how to plan for the next 20 to 40 years. And densifying agriculture in the county is not something in the comp plan that we want to go towards. So the intent is to densify Junction, Perryville, and Danville. And this is kind of a step in the right direction to do that by increasing minimum lot size. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I answered the question.
Okay. Can planning and zoning overturn what a city, I guess, or the county votes for? Once it comes back to planning and zoning, can they overturn if the county voted no? Can planning and zoning overturn that vote?
No, because we are a quasi agency of the county and all of its incorporated cities. So we are run by you all and the fiscal board and the three cities. So no, we cannot overturn a decision made at that governing body level.
Okay, next question. Explain the zone change process. And is there any criteria that you have to prove to get a zone change?
No, there is no criteria in doing that other than applying, paying the fee for the application. But that process of a zone change versus the process for a minor subdivision is the exact same. You hire a surveyor, an engineer, they draw up a plat for us, you fill out an application, you pay the fee. For a minor subdivision, that was the big issue that I've seen since I've been here as well, is in a minor subdivision, if the plat is technically correct and it gets sent to us, if it is technically correct on the plat, we are legally obligated to say yes to it, regardless if there's water, regardless if the roads are broken, regardless of all of that, we are legally required to say yes if it's technically correct. And then for the zone change, it would just be like hire a surveyor, apply for a zone change. And then now with the change, it would go through tech review. It would go to the Planning and Zoning Commission for approval to do our due diligence to make sure that there's adequate water, adequate roads. So I think that's probably the best part about that is we don't have to legally say yes if there is not both of those things.
Hey, Judge, I could ask Hannah if you could just expound on what happens if the zone change request doesn't agree with the future land use map?
Zone change. Okay, the question is, what happens if the zone change request does not agree with the future land use map?
Well, I mean, it's not Bible, like it's not set in stone, but we take everything into consideration. Although if it doesn't go with the comp plan and flume, that is a big part of the decision-making process, but also it's a body of 10 people of your peers. So I feel like it's a very reasonable group of people. And I think if it's subdivided into rural residential or ag, it still goes with the flume. So that future land use map, there is designation for agriculture, but agriculture is agriculture and rural residential. So it probably would go with the flume unless you're changing it to like R1C. So.
Maybe the other your question pertain to what she's talking about.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. In order to get a zone change, you have to prove one of three things. Either social economic change or prove that the zone change is just wrong. Or it has to line up with the future land use map. So out in the county, as far as social economic change, there's really not gonna be a big change unless there's a new road that comes through, new highway, something along that manner. Okay, secondly, if it's an ag zone, then there's no way that you can say the zone change is wrong. It's farmland, it's ag. So that doesn't work. Neither one of those two works. Then if it does not match the flume, then even if planning and zoning approves the zone change, all you have to have is one person, one neighbor to get together to take that, to challenge that, and it is thrown out because it does not match one of the three. So in order, if you're gonna do rural residential, you're gonna still have to go out in the county and change the future land use map to whatever areas that you think that you want to develop, so that at least you can match the future land use map as one of your three criteria. That's what I was going for on that question, was the explanation of a zone change. It has to meet one of the three criteria.
Well, the future land use map is designated for agriculture, but under agriculture in the comp plan is both agricultural and rural residential. So it would still go with the comp plan if you change it to rural residential. But I would also say, like, I think we've heard the argument, like, if a farmer wants to cut off 1 acre and give it to their daughter, I think that is a social and economic change. I would argue that. But I totally see your point. But the residential designation is in the flume. It's agricultural.
So do you have areas designated for the future land use map for that?
No, it's designated agricultural, but it's all under the same kind of like usage.
Okay.
Nope. Let's go to the next question. And I think maybe you've answered part of this. If I choose to request a zone change, pay the extra money, am I guaranteed it will be approved? And what? I think you've touched on that a little bit, but you can reiterate.
Well, I would say things guaranteed. In this economy. That's. Sorry, can I read that? Sure. Well, I don't think it's extra money, actually, sorry.
Sorry, fee for the zone change. Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't, yeah.
So the only way you have to pay the fee is that if you get the zone change.
No, it's the application it's the fee for the application. Sorry.
The zone change is not.
Okay, yeah, the zone change is not automatic.
So it's not guaranteed, but you're saying it falls within the parameters,
Yes, the future land use.
the future land use map.
So if you want to change it to have less than 5 acres to rural residential, that is still in compliant with the comprehensive plan and flume. So it still goes with the future land use map.
So you're saying that if I decide that I want to do a zone change from rural and residential on the future land use map, my farm does not have to say rural residential in the future. You're telling me that the future land use map does not need to say that.
That's correct.
Good.
Okay, and then has the county/cities been keeping an eye on infrastructure using tax dollars for maintenance? Do we plan to stall with growth, and how long? Or do we plan to stall with growth, and how long?
Well, I'll let you answer the system.
Well, the county has been using tax dollars for maintenance. And I know the last 3 years, we've paved a lot of roads and we've used the tax money wisely for that. But how it relates to planning and zoning, we have a lot of roads out here in the county that are too small for where they're at. And for the population that's being put on these roads, we can't keep up with that because there's just too many. But we always try to spend our tax dollars wisely, no matter what we're spending them on.
Okay, so I'll just go on, since that's my question.
Okay.
To the fact that, being your locally elected PBA, there's no funding right now for money with assessments and tax dollars each of these entities get. You will be in trouble. If there's, I mean, this is, everybody in your taxes gone over again. Is in the study that PNC did, right, when we did this huge big study, and as we've been growing, which means every entity between fiscal court, the cities, the county, whatever, has any of that kind of been earmarked to say, hey, we need to continue growth. And the shaking his head, no, that's fine. But my point is, at some point, if there's not already been money withheld for this, then, you know, we're talking about, it could get bad. And if I understand, but at the same time, has everybody in this been keeping an eye, right? Since 80 something, 2000, whatever. So we know when we say 5 acres and then it doesn't keep tracking up like it does, every $300,000 house now, which all those entities get to spend at some point, there's been a lot of revenue flow through those entities. And that was just my question. Has that been earmarked like, oh my gosh, we're never going to ride this road? We don't want to do this. And so now it's too late because Parksville can't do water.
And it's important to know that if it's gonna be a $300,000 house, 5 acres is gonna cost you $150,000. And confirmed in court recently, the average square footage is about $200 now. You're gonna have about 1,000 square foot house on a $150,000 lot.
Okay, next question, and it's sort of a 3-part
Judge, if I could just
measure.
expound on the, I think this kind of relates back to what Hannah was talking about early on, and that's effectively what's known as the urban service boundaries of each of our cities. And that's where the cities plan for their infrastructure growth, meaning primarily in this case, water and sewer, within their urban service boundary. And obviously that's generally contiguous to the city itself. And that's a big part of why it's important to have a future land use map and a comprehensive plan. And so you know where the community as a group decides where that growth needs to be over time. And so that's a lot of the reason for the comprehensive plan and the designation of the urban service boundary is the primary area that you want to focus that growth and development in and density.
And to tag on to what Magistrate Jamie Gay is saying, that primarily is talking about subdivisions, but if you're on 1 acre in rural Boyle County, whether it's east or west, where there's a lot of open land, or in the south, where my colleague sitting here with me, Paula Bodner, is, you, the person with the 1 acre, are going to have the infrastructure. That's your infrastructure on your property, just as my wife and I had to put in a $17,000 lateral field as opposed to tapping on to the sewers. So there is a designation, and you've used the word subdivision, and it's important to know that you're using the term subdivision tonight as the 1 acre, not a multiple condition with new roads, new septic system, or new sewer system, et cetera.
There's definitely a difference between minor and major, so it's.
Probably do.
Just to elaborate on what Jamie was saying, then, just because you're in the city does not mean that there's a stop on utilities. You know, we've got a subdivision that we've been waiting on for going on almost 1.5 years now, because we can't tap into the city services because they can't handle it. So the utility thing is not just in the county. That's also in the cities. That's not just on ag land. And I know exactly the one that you're talking about. We did. Is on 68. The 5 acres would not have changed that in the least. There was not a tract that was under 5 acres on that particular piece of property. So although the utilities is a concern, I understand that completely, but this will do nothing for the utilities. And I'll elaborate a little bit further. I know I probably shouldn't be saying all this, but I am.
You're fine.
About 10 years ago, what we used to do as far as planning and zoning is concerned, there were two levels of a subdivision plat. There was a minor plat and a final plat. The minor plat was 3 lots or less. You could do those 3 lots in a calendar year. So you could create 3 1-acre tracts, sell those off in a calendar year. If you wanted to do more than that in a smaller amount of time, you had to go to a final plat. Anything over 3 lots was considered a final plat. Okay, on the final plat, you had to get what we had at that time, a county engineer, which I don't think we have a county engineer right now, but at that time, you had to get the county engineer's signature on it saying, yes, the road structure will handle the subdivision. You had to get utility signatures for water, sewer, gas, whatever utility was available. And we even had to go as far as to what size water main was there. You know, when Steve Hunter came in, somehow that got sort of dashed out and we just had one subdivision plat. As far as what you're doing with the utilities, I think that would be a much better fit than just saying a blanket, we can't do anything under 5 acres in the county. If you wanted to go back to a minor and a final, I don't think anybody, and I haven't talked to anybody here, whether they're for or against, I don't know. But I don't think that that would be a huge problem. I think I think it took care of what we were doing for several years. I mean, as you already know, I'm definitely against this, but there's more ways to adapt than there is to just say, okay, we're going to quit all development in the county. And that's what you're saying.
Thank you. Okay, this is a 3-part question, and I'm not totally sure what the first part means, so I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but if somebody can maybe tell me a little bit more. Why is it the county's responsibility to oversee the utility availability?
That was me.
Okay,
You keep bringing it up, then hey, there's no infrastructure out there concerning utilities as far as electric and water are concerned. When did it become the county's responsibility to oversee it? That's what but this really shouldn't be any of the county's concern. Now, I understand the roads, but as far as,
did I say that or did Hannah say that?
she said,
Okay. So that question's to her, why is the county, okay,
yeah, why is the county
responsibility to oversee?
responsible for overseeing utilities?
What I would say that it's just a part of planning and zoning's job to plan for the future.
So we can't put wells in anymore. Solar's not a thing. Somebody just put something out in the county, now we ain't gonna have well.
I agree. I agree with that. There are different water sources, yes.
Yes.
You can dig a well, you can have a cistern. Yeah, rain barrel.
Right. I grew up on the system for years.
I did too.
That's what I'm saying. The zoning ordinance doesn't prevent them, but we keep bringing it up as a tool. Is what I'm saying, is it keeps.
Did you say it did or didn't?
It did not prevent them,
Did not prevent wells, okay.
but it keeps bringing across. Yeah, yeah. That's why you're saying we can't have just an acre.
Well, I think it's just a different process that we're trying to push out, and this just ensures that we do have that adequate water, utilities, and infrastructure and all that. But I mean, I'm never trying to stop anybody from doing what they want on their property. That's not the intent of this.
Okay, second part is where were the notifications originally posted for the initial change?
Sorry.
Where were the notifications originally posted for the initial change? For the amendment?
Yeah.
Where was it posted that people to comment?
Oh, for this zoning ordinance text amendment, we didn't take any public comment because it was just through the public or planning, yeah. So it was put in the Advocate Messenger 2 weeks prior to the meeting. It was posted up to Danville City Hall. But it was just another public hearing in the meeting, separate of the comp plan.
But that's where the vote was taken.
That planning zoning. commission.
And in watching your film, one person testified and he was for it. And no other people showed up.
but it was open for public meeting, for public comment.
I guess my point with that is, I sit on the board of adjustments and I didn't. So I don't get the paper. Don't take it to paper.
Planning and zoning is not the legislative body.
I'm sorry.
Planning and zoning is not the legislative body. You're the legislative body. So it's a recommendation to the legislative body.
Bodies, yeah.
So just because it was voted on at the Planning and Zoning Commission doesn't mean it's in the ordinances. Still has to go through 4 different governing bodies, and then it will be approved finally and adopted.
I understand.
So it doesn't, just because it came to the Planning and Zoning Commission doesn't mean that it's,
It's law.
law.
My
Yes.
thing is that obviously most people in this room didn't know that that was even taking place or even on. Or they may have had a little more objection to it. And wouldn't have got as far as it's got.
Thank you. Okay, added residences have increased county tax revenue. Why do you keep saying that Boyle County doesn't have the resources to fix or maintain the roads?
That's me.
Well, the logic tells you the more 1 acre tracts that come up, the more tax revenue is going to be out there as opposed to 1/5 as many homes being built.
The only good answer I can tell you is that everything goes up. So even though we're getting more revenue, prices are increasing. So it's kind of, it doesn't always, it's more or less a wash sometimes because you don't get as much in. It's over the years that you get the taxes. You don't get all taxes at one time. You get a portion every year. And then those taxes have to be split up between 14 different departments in the county. So it's not all just going to one department like for public works for blacktop. So
It goes back to what you're saying too, the planning and zoning, whoever they are, that body has done this research, correct? They have done the research too. They've said, oh my gosh, we can't because we don't have. They've done this, they've not just come up with, I'm not saying come up with it, but they've done research in Boyle County that said, if we do this for a time period and we request some things, right, this wasn't, and that's my question, where's the research to say with the comp plan, that says it's going to set this? If we haven't done that in the planning department.
Well, I mean, we haven't done a traffic study in a while, but I would like to do a traffic study for the county. I know Danville has done several traffic studies, but all of the roads, Persimmon Knob, Neal Road, they're all legacy roads. So I think they're like 16 feet wide right now, which is when you get denser and denser and denser, the more traffic there is, the more dangerous it is for those residents. And so I think right now the minimum state highway or state road is like 24 feet. So I think that's kind of where we're going, is getting to a position where it's, state approved. And right now we're at 16 feet across, I think.
So excluding the 2 roads you mentioned, everything else will fall back to state, right?
No.
No, okay, so no.
Those are just the 2 off the top of my head. There's several.
So you're saying if it's a state road,
No, I'm just saying, I think we should count them.
so what if it's a state road and it's not 24 foot wide?
Grandfather in, I'd assume, but I'd leave that
Grandfathered in to what?
to.
Being okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying if you're
It's under oath.
Oh, gee.
I don't understand what you're saying there. If you're saying that I live on a state road, my state road is not 24 foot wide. Are you saying if it's a state road that you still have the right to do 1 acre?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I am encouraging all of the roads to be as safe as possible in the county, in the city. And I don't think 16-foot wide roads with 1 acre lot, 1 acre lot, 1 acre lot is necessarily safe for everybody on that road. So I'm just trying to discuss.
So, I mean, I wouldn't
No, you're
even
fine.
think about
No,
it.
you're fine. I'm just.
Saying.
Okay, next question is, the main problem that's been discussed is the lack of utility infrastructure. Are there any plans to upgrade the current infrastructure in the future? Did Parks and Water receive $2 million to upgrade water lines, and what is the status of the upgrade? I could speak to Parks and Water. They did receive 1.2 million in ARPA funds, and I believe Junction was 1.3. So yes, both of those cities received ARPA funds to upgrade. And Parable got $1 million too. So, yeah. So when all that ARPA money came out, the county divided it up. Some of it between Parksville Junction and Parable for water infrastructure upgrades. I can't tell you when it's gonna happen because we don't own the water, or what they've done. And I know some have done work and some are starting to do work and some have not done any work. So I can't tell you anything beyond that.
So by doing this, we're gonna possibly approve to ban an acre lot in the county or a fee that may be happening through all the utilities in the next 3 years. Is basically what you're saying as far as utilities. The utilities are gonna be upgraded. That has to be.
Yes.
We hope. We hope they are.
There's no way, I mean, that's the cost of growth. And if you don't want to grow, then you stay comfortable and you die. I mean, that's just the truth.
We got a lot of retirement.
They're at the deadline for the usage of those ARPA funds, that there was for the cities.
Yes, there is a deadline.
There is, but I don't know what it is, Mayor.
They had to be, December 25, they have to be
Committed.
committed, and then by December 26, they have to be done.
Okay, December 25, they have to be committed to the project, and December 26, the project has to be completed. That's what I'm hearing from the measure about.
That's what I've been told.
Okay, that's what she's been told.
I'm a visual person, and I just would like to see if you feel comfortable raising your hand. If you're against the 5 acres, would anybody feel comfortable raising their hand? Okay. Now, if you don't mind, put your hand out. If you're for the 5 acres, would you might feel comfortable to raise your hand? Okay. That just gives me a visual. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Next question. How is making the minimum acre larger, how is that densifying the city?
To encourage growth within the urban service area.
Okay, I just said one thing, and as the three that raised their hands, thank you. You all three are the planning and zoning, correct? The three of you in the room, Mark, Nola, anybody? Who are the planning and zoning?
Mark is not.
Mark is, he is, and then our new two, Mr. Okay, so the two of the three that said yes, again, I think everybody in the room respects planning and zoning.
I also live on Center Mount Road.
Oh, no.
I also live out there.
So you bought that and was willing to sell you, is that you?
No, I bought it when it was 5 years.
Oh.
I bought it when it was 5 years.
Well, somebody could have not wanted to drop. Someone played with it.
Yes, I bought it before I bought it before the densification of Center Mount and Green Ridge Road. And county can't take care of that road. She'll bump the rest of it. God bless you, sir. I wish you could.
Hear a lot of zoning. I don't hear the planning portion of this, right? I'm not being rude. I hear a lot of what you're gonna do. But I don't hear any of the plan. I can't do that. But my point is, I hear a lot of what you're gonna do already. But where is it that you can say, hey, if we try this, or if we do this, where is that? Because no, I mean, the two of the three, and that's my question. Nobody is, we just kind of feel like you're zoning us. So what you're doing is you're restricting you're cutting their property rights to what they can do with it. Because of what? How you prove it? Where is the black and white that says if I do this, this will happen? Build the field, it will come.
And to dovetail into that with the gentleman to my left here commenting about growth or die, you can be assured that with the cost of building today, you'll have 5 homes built to 1 home built, or maybe 10, because the kind of houses that are going to be built on 5 acres are going to be McMansions. So you're going to have 5 to 10 houses built on 1 acre each. And that's the revenue coming in. That's the stream increasing, albeit a year or 2 out every time. But the logic breaks down with respect to the numbers and the growth of the tax base to help with the infrastructure to come out of the county. And I think most of the subdivisions are going to be contiguous to the two major cities and some to, as the mayor from Perryville would say, even to Perryville. There'll be subdivisions more than 1 acre lots. So the density of the 1 acre lots is not going to be significant when mom and pop give an acre to 3 kids on a 2-acre farm, 200-acre farm. That's not density.
Thank you. Do you want to respond to that?
Well, I guess my question would be, at what point do we widen the roads? At what point do we have to widen the roads for safety?
You make the decision on the road you build on.
Who makes that decision?
The person who has that 1 acre and decides, oh, I don't want to be on a 16-foot road.
So who's going to develop the road? The county road? The county?
We have to make that decision for the people who've already made that decision to build a very expensive home on a 16-foot wide road.
I will say there are roads that don't have any room for expansion.
So at what point does it become safe?
That's
Yeah,
that's the planning process that was just spoken to.
no.
School buses do not go down Oscar Riley.
I'm not sure which road. I just know they don't travel all the roads. I can't tell you the names of them. I know they don't travel all the roads.
And is that because it's too narrow?
Sometimes it's because it's a safety issue. Yeah, it is a safety issue. Probably different.
All right, it's me again, sorry.
How about, buddy?
The way that you do that, what we're talking about is as far as widening the roads, that goes back to a minor plan and a master plan. If you're gonna bring a final plan before planning and zoning, and it's gonna be on a 24-foot road, whatever you say, 16, 18, 32, whatever it is, then if that road matches that criteria, then the subdivision can go in. If the road is too narrow by whatever guidelines that we set, or planning and zoning sets, then it would be up to the developer to work with the county to get the road improved, to get it to where the subdivision is, or if it's not gonna be feasible for that, then the land stays the same. That is a whole lot better than just putting a blanket over everybody.
When you say the land stays the same, does that mean, are you meaning that we can't approve that plat based on?
Yes, if it does not match, you made a very good point a while ago, planning and zoning. If we take a plat to planning and zoning, and it is technically correct, I'm sorry, but I mean.
No, you don't have to apologize. I mean, believe it or not, Dale, we're the same team.
Just like Joe. But if it's technically correct, planning and zoning does not have the authorization to turn it down. It's got to be approved. That's correct.
And what I would prefer than 5 acres myself. I'll tell you what I prefer, because here's what I've seen in the 22 years that we've owned our land, is that 1 acre lots, not in a major subdivision as in a development, but in single houses, has grown from the base of persimmon on all the way to into Florida. Okay, on 1 acre lots, all the way down, that is urban level density, which was not, that's not what was intended for the ag zone. Now, the county's not going to pay to widen out the road. If there was a state survey, I fear what grade the county would get for that road for safety. Okay, so allowing 1 acre lots individually to go all the way down has given the density that there would be if there was a major development on that road, but without the widening of the road. If there was a way to do this, not 1 acre, not 5 acres, but to say that we'll allow this level of density per whatever mile of road, per the width of the road. You're following me? What can the road in, right?
But that's not what we're looking at.
Hang on, Tom, I understand that. I know.
this was the best that we could do at the time. And believe it or not, it's doing its job because it's having this discussion right now.
Well, Tom, with all due respect, that's my district, and I've never had any problem on 37, 34, Forkin Road, any of the roads out there, unless we're having the festivals out there, and we have people coming in from all the surrounding counties. But that, you talked about density, say, on Forkland Road, it's just not there with the 1 acre tracts that I'm familiar with, and I'm very familiar with my constituency.
Me. Wow. You say that's urban density,
Yeah.
which I agree. Yes, you're gonna have that on 1 acre tracts, so forth and so on. I get that. But what's even worse than that, as far as I'm concerned, yes, I survey. I bust up land all the time. Do I like that? No, I do not. My heart is a farmer. That's what I do. Okay, so when you're talking about urban density, when you're creating 5 acre tracts, and don't think for a second that we're still not going to have 5 families want to come into Boyle County, because we've got one of the best school districts in the state, no doubt. So they're going to come. So instead of taking up 5.5 acres as it is now, we're going to take up 25 acres. So you just multiply that by 5.
The density is what's going to be, the density is what we're talking about here is, density is what I'm talking about, as far as what the roads can handle.
That's what.
And what the utilities, I understand, the P&Z does not own Parksville Water District. The county does not own Parksville Water District. Parksville Water District doesn't want to sign off on plat stuff. Okay, and
Right.
If we're asked to, then we accept some liability.
However, you all, as far as the planning and zoning body, don't get to decide whether Parksville signs off on this or not. That's been my whole problem with getting utility signatures on the plat, because that has nothing to do with cutting the track. Now, when I say that, don't jump on me and say, well, we got to make sure that the track is serviced. Because if you want to, you can go full solar, you can go well, you can still do all that stuff. However, the city and county utilities are nice to have. I like that.
Dude, you've seen for the last 4 years, you've watched me in the meetings.
Mhm.
And you know that I'm the guy that says, does it meet with the comprehensive plan? Does it meet with the zoning ordinance? Does it meet with the flume? Then the answer is yes.
Exactly.
Right? No choice.
That's the whole reason I asked that question, because I cannot meet one of those things.
I'm with you. This right here is an issue, not for people. This was an issue that P&Z was asked by the fiscal court. Okay, was asked by the fiscal court to make a recommendation.
Yes.
Okay, we made that recommendation because of what the comp plan, what the public comment for the comp plan said in desiring density in the county to be low, desiring density in the city. What we're doing is essentially what the public comment was for the comp plan, and now letting the legislative body say, you got to discuss this.
Tom, technically, the fiscal court did not vote on requesting. 1, maybe 2 magistrates came forward and made that request.
I get it.
And they did not have the density.
I get it.
No, we did not vote on it, and it wasn't, you said the fiscal court, and it wasn't the fiscal court.
And Tom, I'm not saying anything that planning on done anything wrong.
You're not, Bill, I know.
Okay, can we get back on subject here on questions?
I think we're on.
All right, I only have 2 more. Given that Boyle County is a small county, which is better to preserve?
Finish my question.
No, I'm sorry.
Do you mind to go back to the one that you read?
How is making the minimum acre larger? Is that yours?
Yes.
How is this densifying the city?
Yes.
Well, I think we touched on that just to be complete. Sorry.
How is making it 5 acres densifying the city?
It's encouraging density within the urban service area. So within all of the cities, it's just encouraging more higher density in the cities and less density in the county.
How? I don't understand that, because if you could have 5 1 acre lots, that's 5 more people in the city limits of Carroll. if you make it a 5 acre lot, you can only have one person there?
Well, inside the city limits, it's different. So we're only speaking about the county.
Only on agricultural, only on agriculturally zoned land.
Right.
I have to give my 3 boys 5 acres apiece, is what you're saying.
If it fits.
And pay the federal taxes on it.
So no, you can also do a zone change for rural residential, R1A, R1B, R1C.
So Robbie just said that I don't meet those qualifications.
Are you in, you said you're ag right now?
Yes.
She's saying rainfall.
It still would.
Okay.
But I do just want to back up a little bit and kind of piggyback off what Tom said earlier. So we are all, we as in Planning and Zoning Commission, we want to hear you. We are on the same team. All we want to do is plan for the future, and that is the goal. So we're not, we are on the same team. And I want to hear you and I want to listen to you. And so I do just kind of want to like say that out loud so that you all know, like, my door is always open. I'm here to listen. I'm here to understand what your concerns are. That is my main goal. So.
I appreciate that, but I think mostly the farmers, we feel like it's against us, whereas these utilities and the infrastructure and all that, I mean, that doesn't have anything to do with our land.
I think we, as in the Planning and Zoning Commission, see that as the goal is trying to densify the city limits and also protect agricultural uses. So I think that's kind of the intent.
But I don't think that's gonna help the 5 acre thing's not.
Okay. Mr. Pruitt?
As of right now, the way it's saying, 1 acre lot could be surveyed off and sold. Is that correct?
Currently,
It's actually 50,000.
50,000. Yes. One in,
Without paying a fee to get it rezoned or rechanged or anything else.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Right now, the way it stands, a 1 acre lot can be, or thereabouts, the 50,000 foot, can be surveyed off of my property without paying a fee. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct. So you still have to pay for the minor subdivision and you still have to pay a surveyor to survey your land.
There's a minor application fee anytime you cut off the track in Boyle County.
So it's about $205.
$205. Or if you do 10 tracks, it's $205.
Let's pay Robbie down. Sorry.
Yeah.
Or
Yes.
It's not just tasers.
But if you have to do a zone change is considerably higher than
That's my point, right?
application. Yes,
How much is the zone change?
I think the minimum, the application fee for a zone change is like $575, $475.
I think, I don't know if it's that much, but probably right there.
I'm pretty down.
400 is just change, yeah.
Okay.
That's just for the application, you don't,
Yeah.
that's not
I
my.
know, you're.
His fingers in there somewhere. All right, given that Boyle County is a small county, which is better to preserve agriculture, prime farmland property, limit to 1 acre or 5 acres?
I see. It's up to the community, what's better for the community.
Can you clarify how this issue was raised? Can you clarify how this issue was raised?
Yes, so like I said, I got here back in June during this comprehensive plan discussions. And so during those comprehensive plan discussions, it was discussed that that was wanted and needed by the city and the county. So like Magistrate Ellis said, it was brought up by a magistrate, it was brought up by a city official as well, just in conversation of this is kind of what we want to see, this is what we want. And so that is how it started in the Planning and Zoning Commission. Again, it's not set in stone at the Planning and Zoning Commission. It just starts that conversation. And so that's how it was brought about.
That's my question. And so the city official, was a David city official? Okay. So what, again, I think,
Not a commissioner, no, just not a commissioner.
No, just,
well, still though, it's a city official for David.
yes, not Paragould.
Right.
No,
And that's our issue. Magistrate Ellis raised it earlier.
Yes, okay.
David feels, or Perry feels like we're right at the step shop of the county, just to be honest. Yeah.
Not the county.
We
we just feel like we are. And, part of the issue that I have with this, and I think that many of our residents in Fayetteville have with this, is that we feel like there's limitations coming because of this. We have some properties inside the city limits of Fayetteville that could be subdivided that are zoned agricultural. So those will be impacted the way that this is drawn up right now. Now, we have been told that part of the reason that we're paying such exorbitant prices for water and sewage is because we don't have enough customers on the payroll or on the roll. So how are we, and we've been told to get more customers. My question would be, how are we supposed to get more customers when an ordinance is going to limit us on being able to subdivide those properties inside the city limits?
Well, so I don't think you were here yet when we talked about this, but, it got brought up, can different governing bodies have different amendments? So if Perryville decided they didn't want to do this and it stayed at 1 acre, y'all are more than welcome to do that. That is totally reasonable.
So the other question, in the event that we, I'm losing my word down, but in the event that we add to our area, can you forget?
Annex.
Annex. In the event that we pursue annexation, annex properties grandfathered in?
Well, if you choose not to approve this amendment, then it would,
No, if you annex them, they'd be impaired. And you can do whatever is Fayetteville law.
so if you don't approve this amendment, then no, it wouldn't affect those annexations. And again, you all can have your own amendments, Junction can have their own amendments, Danville can do whatever they want, and it can all be separate from those governing bodies. This was at the Planning and Zoning Commission just to start this conversation, and yeah, so.
Well, and two, when the question, how this issue came to be, a lot of this came from the community meetings. I mean, the people that came to those meetings, and voiced their opinions. That's kind of where I guess planning and zoning took the information from, was the community meetings. That's yours.
There's a profound misnomer when we say that 5 acres is going to preserve agricultural land. And my case would be 10 people with 1 acre are a whole lot more logically inclined to raise a big garden, to can, to possibly even put out fruit trees. How many of the 5 acre tracts and larger are nothing but a great big front lawn that people who can afford that home can also afford? And I'm loving the fact, because I've got one helping me, they hire people to mow that great big front lawn, and they're not baling that for hay, because it's no longer technically, it's a misnomer to call it agricultural land if it's not being used year after year, as opposed to 10 people canning their vegetables for the future.
Thank you. If anybody has any additional questions that have not been answered, I think we've kind of answered a lot. But if you have any additional questions, I have 2 left, and Willie Baker's got his hand up.
We go ahead and answer.
Go ahead, sir.
So we talked about the widening of the roads, how it's a safety concern. Study, how many accidents have happened out there on these quote unquote narrow roads? That would be my first question.
Part of the research.
Has anybody that hit on a bicycle? Has anybody?
There has been a Safe Streets for All study done. Don't have the results back yet, but that study has been done on some of the county roads. I won't say all, but it's been done recently, just in the last probably 4 months. Yeah, but don't have any statistics back. Okay, I have 2 questions. One of them, I think we've already answered several times. Why was it changed from 5 to 1? That was when Steve Hunter was here, and that's what the Planning and Zoning Commission did at that time. Yes.
That's actually not a lot.
Okay.
It's been 1 acre since the early 90s.
Okay.
About 10 years ago, when I say they, planning and zoning, whoever, I don't know, but they were going to move it back to 5 acres. And this was about, I'm going to say 10 years ago, and I don't have the date in front of it. It could have been 13 years ago. When the farmer owners got wind of this, and actually the one that took charge was Bruce Ham. He came up here in front of the fiscal court meeting, and he explained to all the members that were on fiscal court at that time, and I don't think any of you guys were there, but he explained to fiscal court why this was not good for farmland in Boyle County.
Jamie and I've been there.
I wasn't even on the city commission. I wasn't.
And I bring that point up because, as we all know, and Bruce Ham was one of the most respected farmers, people in this county, and I guess you could just say I could look up to him to make decisions, and I think that is a decision he made very well, and he got it across the fiscal court.
Okay, thank you for clarification. I also want to,
Sorry, I do have one comment. So I will say there's dug through like the past ordinances and stuff like that. From the 2004, it was adopted in October 18th of 2004. There is, and that was, I think, Paula's era. There is a section for lot provisions, and it says for land used agriculturally, minimum lot size 5 acres. And then for single family dwellings, it's minimum lot size of 1 acre. So I think there is that language in there in the 2004 ordinances and in 1988 ordinances as well. It's verbatim the exact same language. It's for land used agriculturally. So I think that's
what that is. It used to be, if you were going to do 5 acres or more, you didn't have to go through the planning and zoning. If you did a 5 acre tract and you put a note on there said that this is the farm exemption, this is for 5 acres, still going to be farm. We did not have to take it to planning and zoning. We recorded it at the county clerk's office. They made a deed on it.
as far as subdividing it or anything, or just.
Well, if you had a 100 acre farm and you said, I don't want to go to planning and zoning, I don't want to mess with those guys. You could do the 5 acre farm exemption and not have to go to planning and zoning. You just took the plat to record it at the county clerk's office. There's all kinds of those over there at the, at recorded. And that's what that was. That's the 5 acres. It's always been since, I don't have it in front of me, but the early 90s, late 80s is when it went to 1 acre. And I would have to get that, the dates to make it, but because it used to be 5 acres back in the day, you could do, like I say, the farm exemption 5 acres. And what they found out from that over time was they would buy 5 acres, and this is just habit. They would buy the 5 acres the first couple of years, they would keep it up, mow, everything nice, However, it was too big for back in those days, a Murray lawnmower. And it was too small for a tractor. So eventually what happened is that back half of that 5 acre just grew up. And that's what happens. So.
okay, we've got one last question unless someone else has a question. And if you do, hold up your hand, let Julie bring you a piece of paper, write it down. Concerning densifying the cities, how are you safeguarding against over-densifying, overbuilding, and then an additional question, where we have traffic issues, among other things?
I guess this is within the city limits.
Don't specify. It just says the cities.
Well, I would go back to my comment about let the community decide what's over densifying. I think it's up to you all what you want in your community. So I think that's the way to safeguard against over densifying, is just listening.
I think that's what we're saying also. Let us decide.
I agree. I agree.
So that pertains to Dayton, city of Dayton.
Okay. The over densifying, this question, it says concerning densifying the cities, how are you safeguarding against over densifying? So I believe it's just for Danville. But I don't know what over densifying looks like inside of Danville. Honestly, I would say go higher.
I'll jump in and try to help you a little bit with that one. I think, again, that goes back to the comprehensive plan, because the comprehensive plan doesn't just apply to the land outside of the city limits. The comprehensive plan applies to the land within the city limits as well. And so the future land use maps designates what's designed, what's the community thinks should be industrial areas, what the community thinks should be commercial areas, what the community thinks should be residential areas. And so that plan is the community's plan that has to be updated every 5 years. So that's the plan that is used to kind of spread the growth patterns out around the community. And a person can have a piece of property that can meet all the criteria that Robbie Dale so eloquently has stated. And, there could be something that changes, that bypass comes around or that new road comes, and all of a sudden we need to make an adjustment to the future land use map. And then that plan can adjust in between those 5 years. But the 5-year plan, that again, I think it's important to realize this has been worked on for 2 years. This is the community's document that is the planning part of planning and zoning.
And the beauty of what Magistrate Jamie Gay has just said is there's a specific vote for Danville, for Junction, for Perryville, but it does not have to affect the outlying county. So I totally agree with my colleague from the court, living in the city and understanding the city as a former city council member. But it does not affect all that we're talking about rural Boyle County. You
All
know,
right. Is there any other additional questions? Going once, going twice. So, as I said at the beginning, this is a public information meeting. So I hope that the questions that's been asked has helped you all to know the difference between the comprehensive plan and the text amendment, that they are two separate documents. Comp plan has already been approved. The text amendment will be voted on by the fiscal court on October 25th or November 25th. Good, very fast. All right, y'all. November 25th. So here's your homework. From what you've learned tonight, I don't know if it has swayed you one way or the other of what you were originally thinking. But the main thing is talk to your magistrates. Contact your magistrates. You can tell them tonight. We have all of them here but one. You can contact me. You can email me, text me, whatever. I will relay that on to the fiscal court. But that's what you need to do. And you need to share that with your neighbors, and you need to let them know that they need to contact their magistrates before the vote takes place on Tuesday, November 25th. Thank you all for coming. We really appreciate the input from you all and hearing what you all have to say. So thank you all very much. Have a safe trip home.